This is coming to you live from our respective places.
That's right. Pittsburgh. Hey, we're in Pittsburgh.
Greensburg and Guyton, Georgia, the north and south. Welcome.
Good to be here. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to hang with you guys for a second here and do this update video. So if you are watching this, then we're glad you're here watching. Hopefully you know our faces. If you don't, then that's a little strange. But
I don't need to know it that good.
Yeah. So basically, here's why we're here today. We're going to be giving an update just on how our churches are doing in this kind of COVID-19 moment. But there's a reason why we're particularly talking as the three of us. One of which is because we are brothers. I don't know if you've noticed a similarity between our faces. There is some similarity. Our movements will probably be very similar. And you'll notice that. But the other reason is because we have a history of partnership in ministry together, going all the way back to our upbringing, but specifically in local church life. Jeremiah is the lead pastor of Reclamation Church in Pittsburgh, and Stephen is a church planting pastor in Greensburg with Reclamation Church Greensburg, and then I'm lead pastor here at One Savior Church in Guyton, Georgia. And Stephen was the lead pastor of One Savior Church in Guyton, Georgia, and we were ministering together here. And then he had to move him and his family up north, and they have begun a church planting process up there. And Jeremiah, Reclamation Church Pittsburgh, has been a big part, a significant part of their planting in Greensburg. And then we, as this tiny little church down here in Georgia, are also partnering as best we can to be a part of the movement of the gospel in the Greensburg area. So that's the best summary I can do in a short amount of time. And so that's why we're here. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. It's probably a little bit chilly up here than down there, but we're doing good.
Yes, it's a little cold here, very windy, cold. And that is why I was a minute late to this, because I was doing a indoor exercise moment with my wife so that we wouldn't have to go outside. So
exemplary of you to be exercising with your wife.
With my wife, and it was voluntary on I chose to do that. So
wow.
At her behest.
Yes.
But yes.
So you haven't taken a shower since the work.
I have not. I just threw on a collared shirt so I look presentable.
Nice. Stephen, why don't you take the floor here and or the screen, I guess you could say, and let us know what you guys are up to right now in Greensburg, how everything is going within this kind of coronavirus moment, and how your church is doing, and yeah.
Well, first, it's just good to be talking to One Savior Church people. We keep up with people on Facebook and just, seeing what's going on in people's lives. And that is still part of the joy that we have, to kind of check up on just how people are doing, and because we love that whole group. And a lot of our story, what happened here is just because of what God did there in Guyton, Georgia, and the maturity and refining process he did in our family. And even burden for church planting grew there in Georgia. Obviously the original intention was to have Ben maybe go plant and us to stay camped out in Georgia. And then God switched that, and his sovereignty and his goodness, and even due to sickness and illness in my family. We found ourselves here and kind of jumped in with Jeremiah and Reclamation Monroeville, training, getting to know their heart, what they were doing there. God's just done some really sweet stuff at their church, and just it's growing and vibrant, amazing people. And Jeremiah allowed and asked, challenged anybody who God was leading to go with us to plant this church. And so we had a number of families that did that, and just amazing families that God provided for us right off. And so we actually officially launched about 7 months ago. So then 5 months into our launch, the coronavirus hits. So we don't even know who we are yet, and we're already having to stop. So it's kind of strange, because we've been talking to, we've been following up with our people and just having these conversations about the uniqueness of the situation, to be a really young church plant and then being told not to meet anymore. But I think honestly, just as by way of update, that God's really used it in our situation for good, because we don't have a lot of families. We can do more intimate kind of things on Sundays and during the week, and on Zoom and in FaceTime and all these different things. And actually, we've actually connected more, and maybe even more significantly, over during this pandemic time, just as we've been sharing our burdens and our needs and our fears and just wrestling with really challenging and wonderful things with people. And so I would actually say that it's going to be it's going to be very formative for us in the future, because a lot of the things we've been doing on our Zoom calls on Sunday morning and stuff are things we're going to do on Sunday mornings when we are able to gather back together. So I would say overall, we're doing well. God has provided all the finances we need to this point to do what we need to do, because it's just me and a little group of people, and we lost our building that we were renting, so we don't have to pay rent anymore. So it's actually a lot cheaper to do church through Zoom and FaceTime. So it's not ideal, but it is saving us lots of money. Now the hard thing is, and this would be the prayer request one, is that we have no place to meet anymore. So whenever the ban is lifted and whenever we're able to go back to normal Sunday worship gatherings, we don't have a space right now. So
we're out of school, and
right, yeah, we were at a college. University of Pittsburgh has a Greensburg campus, and so it was a great space, had a great chapel, space for our children. Our people loved it. It was a great place to have Sunday worship. So we're not sure if that's going to be available again or not. Okay. Maybe after the summer into the new school year. It's possible they might have it open at some point during the summer, but we're not sure yet. So just pray that we would know where to meet. Yeah. And I think that would be the biggest thing right now, is finding a space. We have a space possibility for lease downtown Greensburg that we're looking at. That would be a very kind of like a ministry hub into the city of Greensburg. But with the coronavirus and stuff, those conversations all kind of shut down for a little while because nobody can do anything anyway. So we'll be picking those back up soon to see if God might want us to go ahead and make that move downtown. So that would be my assessment right now. We're doing well, considering that we have no space and we have, a little fledgling church that's just getting started. I have enjoyed the opportunity to connect in a different way. So I don't know. There might be some specific questions you have that would help, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
No, that's really good and helpful. And so that's a good prayer request that we can be praying for, just when through the process, you're still able to connect and be a church together. But when it does come to meeting again, that's going to be a significant part of it, which you've already kind of walked through that process once.
Yeah.
You have to walk through it again.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not worried. I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't know what the next step is here, but hopefully he'll be clear with us in the next few weeks as to just even where we need to focus our attention. So
I would add, I mean, it might not be how it was drawn up a year ago when we sat down and planned, wanted to plan a church. And, let me just first say, I'm so grateful for, One Savior and you guys helping in this process. This is a team thing, and yes, all the glory goes to God, but so grateful for what you guys have done and allowed us to help Steve in this process, and him not have to worry about finances right now. Is over the last couple of years that you guys have been with us in this. So it's been, we dreamed about planting a church in Greensburg for 5 years and never thought this was how it was going to come about. And, God and his timing did it. And so it's been cool to see what God has done. And yes, when it launched last fall, it was exciting and grateful for the 5 months that they had. And for it to stop like this, I do think you're going to look back and see some very sweet things that came out of this time. Even you're already starting to see it now. But I mean, if one thing we see in the church in America, everything's going smaller. I mean, unless you're part of a Christian small community group, you're feeling kind of isolated right now. Yes, you can watch shows and you can watch TV or the churches online, but you really want to be connected to a smaller Christian community. And I think it's so important what all pastors, and I've been on numerous calls, and what the conversation is, how do you get people connected? How do you get people connected?
Yeah.
And so if, during this time, I look at it as you guys in Greensburg are just connected in a deeper level, are drawing. So if anything, man, what a stronger way to come out, hopefully in the fall, where you guys can almost do a second launch and be more united, more strong, more on mission for God, more one-minded, that, maybe you got together, got some excitements, and now this time is just kind of to come back and get stronger, and then to burst out where everybody has stopped. I mean, in a lot of ways. And I think it'd be really a strong way. See what God's going to do with you guys as you relaunch in the fall. And figuring out where you're going to meet is probably an important thing, but could be some really cool things from it.
Yeah. In light of that, because for our church, Zoom has been really helpful. We've still been able to connect and has home groups and in that way, but we're also kind of a smaller church. Jeremiah, how is the COVID-19 worked for you guys as kind of a larger number of people that are a part of your church life?
I mean, we've still really tried to do exactly what you said. I mean, it's the community groups that we have, really encouraging them to get together. We've, as a staff and elders, we've called all our community group leaders. We keep contact, trying to call all other people. But it goes down to those relationships that were already there in that Christian community. Some people are like, I don't really need it. I don't need to be part of one. Well, these are the times you realize, oh, you really did need to be part of one. Because, it's okay to try to jump in, and we've tried to get people to come in and join, and some have, but man, to already have those is what we're striving to right now, is just strengthen that and strengthen the local body through Zoom calls. And we've done communion online and done Facebook Live things, and, trying to make that connection pretty much like any other church is doing right now. And it looks like for the next month, because no one's going to be meeting in large groups right now. And so that importance of staying connected in small groups is just so important right now.
Yeah, that's good. I know, Stephen, I mean, you were for anyone who doesn't know, you were the lead pastor here for 10 years.
I think it was actually 8. I think we were going on our 9th.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was entering into our 9th
year. Yeah, that makes sense. So 8 years, how is your family doing? I mean, our church knows your family well. So, how is your family?
Overall good. We're always going to say good if, especially Aiden and Grace don't have any recurrence of what our church remembers, the sickness that, kind of was their life for, over 2 years.
Yeah.
So given that they're so much better now, that it's good. So there's little things. I mean, obviously, like other people, a couple of our kids, lost their job, or at least aren't able to work now, because 2 of them worked at a coffee shop. That obviously is not happening. We're obviously, like everybody else, isolated. We're trying to be very careful not to bring anything back into the house, because they do have weaker immune systems. So far, it's been good, and we've done well at keeping everything pretty self-contained. They have flare-ups, different things that are just part of them recovering and part of their recovery. And so when weather changes and things like that, sometimes it hits them harder than other people, but it's way better than it was. So it might be that they're down for a day or 2 because of the weather change. But we will definitely take that over what we experienced over that long, dark time for us. So overall, our family's doing well. Just like everybody else, just trying to make a little bit of, sense out of the madness, and encourage each other, enjoy each other's company, and be creative and reach out to those who are really hurting during this time. So, yeah, that's good. Jeremiah, you were just with us not too long ago in February with the marriage retreat, doing a marriage retreat with our married couples. And so how are you guys doing? How's your family doing?
Great time with you guys down there. So grateful we got to do it before all this came about. Really enjoyed hanging out and sharing. We're doing well too. Just trying to stay sane, and trying to, I have 5 kids, so trying to keep them not killing each other, and just trying to keep them doing schoolwork and still getting their energy out. My son Titus, who is 6 years old, about 11 o'clock 2 nights ago, was still running around the house because he still had tons of energy. So trying to figure out how to get the energy out earlier than 11 o'clock. But he just was ready to go at 11 o'clock. And I was ready to go to sleep, to be honest. So just trying to figure out that. But God's been good. And I think one thing I've challenged my people with last week, and just asking God, what do you want to teach me during this time? And trying to not just try to, let's just get through this time as quick as possible, which we all want to, but does God want to teach us something and grow us through this time? And God has teaching me things and maturing my faith and giving me time to be still in his presence. And so it's been good. As you know, it probably took me like 3 or 4 weeks to finally ask God that question, but just to be like, God, what are you trying to teach me? And what do you want to grow me? And I don't want to be the same when I come out of this. And I hope no one listening to this, and I hope the church doesn't want to be the same, right. That we see more what is needed and get on mission for God in a greater way. So, yeah,
that's good. Yeah, I, along that line of just kind of like lessons being learned and kind of this moment, you know, maybe, you know, Jeremiah, you just gave us a word of a call. Stephen, do you have something I mean, most of the people watching this will be One Savior Church. So, you know, do you have just a word of encouragement or of exhortation for us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my heart is just, as I always just listen to the Christian community at large and I just always try to be sensitive to what the vibe is of the voices into our culture that doesn't know Jesus. And that's always just something I'm just sensitive to. And I really am just burdened that the vibe that the culture gets during a time of pandemic is a vibe of compassion. And I get that from some quarters of the Christian community, than others I don't. And it hurts me a little bit because just the small group I'm ministering to, I know there's a lot of hurt and challenge, and it's just a small group. I know Jeremiah has a larger group that he's dealing with, and he knows a lot more about the hurt and pain and loss of jobs. And I just wish our Christian communities dripped with compassion. That's what I wish. And so I would just encourage us to look around and see who the hurting people are around us, and not just say, let's just get through this and make, you know, oh, this is crazy, we got to be in here to get, you know, because it is, we're all feeling that. But there's a lot of people that to be isolated with a family that's already a broken family means there's a lot more abuse, there's a lot more pain, there's a lot more things happening behind the scenes, behind closed doors in our communities that are just really hard. And I want our communities to be, our Christian communities and churches to be just moving out with love for neighbor, maybe like never before. And so I just would pray that and plead with One Savior Church, just like I would my own church, and I know Jeremiah would his, you know, just to look around and let God use us with just very profound love for neighbor right now and compassion. So
yeah, that's good.
Good
Word. Thank you for that. Thank you, guys. I guess one more question that came to mind was, Stephen, you've always been small. You know, for a while you have the oldest age thing going for you. You were the lead pastor, but now you're just the tiny church planting pastor in, you know, under the thumb of Jeremiah, you know. So
that's why I carry this around now. This is like who I am now. I'm a little pastor with a little Bible and a little black suit. And
I mean, it's like an entire loss of identity. I just wasn't sure how you were, you know.
Actually, let's just be honest here. Actually, I really enjoy it. I actually like not being the main in charge guy. You know, I mean, I like leading, but I also like not feeling like everything rests on me. And if it all falls down, it's all my fault. And so that's the nice thing about the church plant. For at least the first few months, it's like, I still can blame a lot on Jeremiah and their elders. So it was actually quite enjoyable. There's a sense of freedom that I hadn't had for a while. So it was kind of nice in one sense to be like, well, I'm just a church planter. I don't know what I'm doing. And I still use that, by the way, because I'll say it all the time. Like, well, I'm planting a church, but I've never done it before. I have no idea what I'm doing. And there's kind of a freedom there, you know. On the other hand, I'm learning a lot of lessons. And so I'm feeling less small in my task of, okay, I think I'm starting to understand this, and I think I can do this, even though the skills of church planting are not really my strong point. My strong points are more, you know, put me in a room, let me study for 50 hours, and then come out and I'll preach a couple times. And like, yeah! And I love to, minister to people and just talk with people and counsel and that kind of stuff. But church planting is a whole different ball game. And thankfully, Jeremiah had already done it. And so
I made all the mistakes. So
right. And so he actually told me a lot of those and has helped give some steps along the way, which God knew is what I needed to be an effective church planner. Yeah. So I think it's been good. And I make a lot of jokes about Jeremiah being my boss because it's just fun to do, because he's, 2.5 years younger than me, and I can use that. I just use that material a lot, but I honestly am grateful.
And all the embarrassment on the basketball court, you learned how to be small.
Right. Well, it's kind of like you. I mean, I beat you so many times in ping pong that you felt insecure in my presence when you were my associate pastor. And so like Jeremiah, I've done the same thing with him in basketball. And so this feels good for Jeremiah to win at something since he's lost a lot in basketball throughout our life. Good point, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming on the call, giving the update. I appreciate it. And we'll hopefully maybe be able to do it again sometime. You never know. So, but if our church enjoys this, then we'll just make this maybe an update thing for the future. But it was good talking with you guys.
Thank you, One Savior Church, all your support. Love you guys. Miss you guys.
All right. And we're praying for you guys up in Pittsburgh and Greensburg. So
thank you, Ben.
All right. Peace.